Alec Baldwin. Charges dropped. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. I've previously done a detailed series analysing Alec Baldwin and also his wife Hilary, or Hilaria, as she wants to be known, with her pseudo-Spanish credentials. And I'd encourage you to watch that if you have not already done so. You'll find it extremely interesting. We know that Baldwin, of course, had faced both civil and criminal suits in relation to the shooting and death of Helena Hutchins. There's a double whammy of activity in relation to those tragic circumstances which enable us to understand more about the way that Alec Baldwin behaves and to help you understand more about the way that an upper lesser type B narcissist behaves, one that doesn't operate with a facade, one that is belligerent, bold, boastful. The first is in relation to the civil claim, and the information here comes courtesy of Red State, which is no fan at all of Baldwin because he's seen as a Democrat and left-leaning, and Red State is none of those things. The article by Nicarama tells us that Alec Baldwin makes despicable move in motion to dismiss suit of Hutchins' family. Let's just be honest. Actor Alec Baldwin is a terrible person. He was a horrible person long before he pointed a gun in the direction of cinematographer Helena Hutchins, killing her and wounding director Joel Souza on the set of Rust. He was charged with involuntary manslaughter this year, and he's pled not guilty. Denial, nullification of threat to control. He's been a horrible person, at least since he screamed at his 9-year-old daughter in awful audio, calling her names, absence of emotional empathy, insult, nullification of threat to control. Every time he's talked about the shooting of Hutchins, he seems more concerned about himself, which is true, he is, than he is about her or the effect it may have had on her family. But Baldwin's latest move in response to a suit from Hutchins' family just cements what a despicable human being he is. Baldwin has denied responsibility. Denial, nullification of threat to control, blaming other people on the set for the incident, blame shifting, saying he was told the gun was a cold gun. There were multiple safety issues on the set, including with guns, and some of the crew quit over the issues. Baldwin was also one of the producers, so not only should he have checked the gun and not pointed it at anyone, he had a responsibility to ensure safety as a producer. Hutchins' parents and sister filed a wrongful death action against Baldwin, threat to control through litigation. Hutchins' husband Matthew had also sued Baldwin but settled. But instead of coming to some kind of resolution with Hutchins' family, Baldwin has filed a motion to dismiss the action with prejudice, claiming their action against him was especially misguided, and claiming that they were distanced from Helena, smearing, nullification of threat to control. The loss of a daughter and sister is undoubtedly painful in any circumstance, lawyers for the actor wrote in court documents obtained by Fox News Digital. Yet plaintiffs, who had been distanced from Helena physically, financially and emotionally for years before her death, have no viable cause of action against defendants. This action is especially misguided. Baldwin's legal team specifically noted that the plaintiff has to be married to the decedent in California law to receive compensation for a wrongful death. Additionally, the lawyers argued Hutchins' family could not prove a sufficiently close relationship with the cinematographer, which is necessary under New Mexico law. Imagine having the involvement that he had in her death and then the nerve of saying that they were distant and misguided so he could avoid any financial responsibility to them. Well, of course, it's no surprise that a narcissist would behave this way, heaping misery on existing misery, pouring salt into the wound, all to ensure that he doesn't have financial responsibility. The article continues by stating, if there's a definition of slimy, that would be it. I think you can make the legal argument without having to further attack the family in the process. Gloria Allred, who is representing the family, ripped into Baldwin's attempt to avoid responsibility. We are not surprised that Alec Baldwin is once again attempting to avoid responsibility for what he did attorney Gloria Allred said. It is abundantly clear under New Mexico law, which will be applied in the California court, that he is responsible for all of the harm he did to the entirety of Helena Hutchins' family. We are here to make sure that he's held accountable for his actions. We'll have to see how the court rules on the motion, but we don't need to wait on the decision to know what a disgusting person Baldwin is, so says Red State. Demonstrating here that the narcissist not only seeks to avoid the threat to control by a motion to dismiss, but in so doing has no regard for what such action would make the family feel, and has no hesitation in essentially smearing them, but to say that they would distance from the deceased lady. However, the position of Alec Baldwin has become somewhat emboldened with further news that Alec Baldwin manslaughter charges dropped over Rust film set shooting. Prosecutors in New Mexico have dropped the criminal charges of involuntary manslaughter against the actor Alec Baldwin over a fatal shooting on the set of the film Rust. This will, of course, remove that ongoing threat to control. The Hollywood star, 65, was charged in January over the death of Helena Hutchins. The 42-year-old cinematographer was killed in October 2021 after an old-fashioned gun Baldwin was rehearsing with discharged. Baldwin faced up to 18 months in prison if he had been convicted. However, it's not the case that this has completely gone away, because in a statement, prosecutors Carrie T. Morrissey and Jason J. Lewis said the charges could be refiled following further investigation. They said that ahead of a scheduled court date of May the 3rd, new facts were revealed that demand further investigation and forensic analysis. Consequently, we cannot proceed under the current time constraints and on the facts and evidence turned over by law enforcement in its existing form, the prosecutors said. The involuntary manslaughter charges were being dismissed while prosecutors conduct further investigation, according to the statement. Thus, Mr. Baldwin isn't yet out of the woods. It appears that the prosecutors couldn't do what they needed to do within the appropriate time period, and therefore have had to say, well, we'll drop the charges while we go and look at this other evidence. What it shows, we have no idea. It might be that it shows that Baldwin isn't a suitable target for these proceedings, or it may well even strengthen it, and thus the proceedings will come back. Morrissey and Lewis added, this decision does not absolve Mr. Baldwin of criminal culpability, and charges may be refiled. Our follow-up investigation will remain active and ongoing. However, remember that as an upper lesser type B, Baldwin doesn't care about what's going to happen in the future. He's focused on the now, and the removal of these charges is a removal of a threat to control, which will mightily please him. The fact that they have, in essence, appear to give the appearance, at least to him, through his narcissistic lens of backing down, is something that he will revel in. Naturally, of course, he's not going to be full of humility, but rather he's going to be entirely grateful for the fact that this has happened, to not say to everybody, look, terrible thing that's happened, etc., 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 but basically, I was never at fault, and this demonstrates that they shouldn't have brought the charges against me. He maintains, of course, his innocence because his narcissism maintains that that has to be the case. And even if he is innocent, his narcissism will continue to tell him that, and even if he was culpable, his narcissism would still tell him that he wasn't accountable. After it was announced that the charges had been dropped, Baldwin paid tribute to his wife, Hilaria, and his lawyer, Luke Nikas, on Instagram. Alongside a picture of Baldwin embracing Hilaria, the 39-year-old former yoga teacher with whom he shared 7 children, the actor wrote, I owe everything I have to this woman. Flattery, direct assertion of control. He added, brackets, and to you, Luke. Baldwin's lawyers said in a statement, we're pleased with the decision to dismiss the case against Alec Baldwin, and we encourage a proper investigation into the facts and circumstances of this tragic accident. Note that has to come from the lawyers who've probably done it on his behalf, not as his instruction, but they're trying to manage the PR for him. For Baldwin, nothing said about the victim. It's all, gosh, look at me. I owe everything to this woman. Let's talk about me. Yes, the charges have gone, and I'm going to not demonstrate any contrition about the tragic circumstances, but instead talk about my family instead. Once again, showing his self-absorbed nature. Thus, for now, a significant threat to control for Alec Baldwin has faded away. So, all good news for him, albeit it doesn't look like it's completely gone away and could resurface in the future. However, at this point in time, Alec Baldwin isn't going to be thinking about that. His narcissism doesn't cause him to worry about what's coming in the future. It's entirely focused on the now. And for the now, it's about charges have been dropped in the criminal case, and he's trying to kick out 2 more civil cases against him. After all, Alec Baldwin is never at fault. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.